Hey guys, welcome to another lesson. Selective preparation, power mathematical reasoning for test 2032. We're just going to be going through the questions as always, but today we have a couple of questions that are quite interesting. So let's get straight into it. Question 1, simple compounding interest. Jason wants to borrow $300, and as you can see, that's the loan plan. What will be the difference of interest between two options when Jason selects plan A or plan C over the 3 years? Okay, so if you guys don't know, interest is the, oops, it's a bit thick, isn't it? Should be in a pen. Interest is actually the amount of extra money you can think of, extra money that accumulates or adds, let's say, that builds up over time on top of an original amount of money. Okay? So if I have this original amount of money here in this instance would be the $300. And this $300 with a certain amount of time and a certain amount of interest rate, I'm going to call that R, right? Is then, and again, this rate is some sort of percentage. This would result in some sort of money being accumulated over time. Okay, and this sort of interest can be both in debt and also credit as well. Debt is money you owe. So let's say the bank lent you some money. Then if you don't pay that money within a certain amount of time, let's say a year, usually it's yearly, then there's something called interest, and the bank basically is giving you punishment for not being able to pay back the money quickly. On the other hand, there's also money that you put into the bank, for example, and this is what I'm talking about when I say credit. It's talking about money that's added to however much you already have as a means of saying thank you for using this sort of bank. Okay. But anyways, I just thought it might be useful for you guys to know what interest is, just so we can understand this question better. So obviously, Jason wants to borrow $300, but he doesn't want to pay as much, meaning that he has to choose the option that the interest when accumulated is still the lowest. Okay, so after the interest, we need to find the lowest one out of all these plans, because who wants to pay that much anyways, right? Okay, so let's have a look at plan A and C because that's what the question addresses. Plan A suggests 12% per annum for 1 year. Plan C suggests 5% per annum for 3 years. Okay, now the trick in this question is to not be thrown off by these numbers here. Okay, just because plan C says, oh, it's for 3 years, then I can maybe just say 5%, right? Or 5 over 100 times 300. Okay, we can't do this. Why? Because it says 5% per annum still. Per annum for 3 years, meaning that this plan probably only stands for 3 years, meaning that we probably don't have to change this plan for 3 years. However, let's look at plan A, and you'll probably understand what I mean more by that. Just because it says 1 year, right? After this plan ends, so after Jason borrowed money for $300 after 1 year, now he has to choose probably plan A again, and this is where a confusion might happen. Okay, but you guys just need to understand that for $300 spent, there's 12% per annum, and this is for plan A. There's 12% per annum per year, in other words, for how many years? 3 years. And the formula we follow is I, interest, equals to P times time times R. Okay, where P is the original sum, or maybe I should write that in a different color. Okay, where P is the original sum of money that is loan on loan or given out. T is the time, and rate is the obviously the interest rate. And I is the amount of interest. Okay, hopefully this makes it clear. interest. Okay. Now that we have found out plan A, 300 times 12 over 100 times 3, we just need to calculate that. So cancel, because 300 and 100, we can into 3 in 1. 3 times 12 times 3 is $108. Now, let's have a look at plan C. Okay, so plan C has, as it reads, 5% per annum. So for $300 borrowed, it has 5% per annum, or 500 over 100 for 3 years as well. So don't get confused. That we also cancel out to be 3 and 1. And what is 3 times 5 times 3? It is 65. Okay, and now because the question asks for the difference of interest, we just subtract these two values to get us $63, which is option B. Okay, next, question 2. Working together. A painter can paint a room in 12 hours. An apprentice who can paint the room in 20 hours is added to the workforce. If they work together at rates indicated, the number of hours needed to paint the room will be... Okay. Now guys, a painter can paint one room in 12 hours. Then in 1 hour, if it's one room in 12 hours, then in 1 hour, which is 12 times less, only 1/12 of room is completed. Can you guys understand that? So if one room takes 12 hours, 1/12 of the room can be done in 1 hour, so that in 12 hours, one whole room can be done. Can you see how that maths works? Okay, so since that is valid, we can say, oh, that must mean that 1/12 of the room is complete in 1 hour. That's the work. So let's do that the same to the apprentice who takes 20 hours. If one room takes 20 hours, now I'm doing the same thing, then 1/20 of the room per hour is done. Okay? The work is done, 120th of the room is done in 1 hour. Now, perhaps not over, let's say in 1 hour. Now, because that's the case, then how much can both these people do at 1 hour? Okay, so we add these two to find a value. Now, what is 1/12 plus 1/20? Let's have a look. What's the common denominator that we can make? It is 60. So times 5 to the bottom, times 5 to the top. We get 5/60 plus 3/60. If you can do this, if you understand that. Now, what's the fraction? 8/60. This means 8/60th of the room is complete in 1 hour. Does that make sense, guys? If that's the case, let me just underline this because this is important. If that is the case, then how long till the whole room is finished? If 8/60th is done in 1 hour, then how long till 60/60, which equals to 1 whole room? Okay, so this is the question. How long? How long does it take? Well, now we just need to find out how much 8/60 is less than 60. Or in other words, how big 60 is in comparison to 8. Because, can you guys see how only the numerators are different? We only need to focus on numerators. So how many times is 60 bigger than 8? Let's do it. 60/8 is, actually, if you do it, 7.5 hours. And that's the answer. So, again, let me take you through the steps. Since one room is done in 12 hours for the actual painter, then in 1 hour, only 1/12 of the room is complete. Similarly, the apprentice takes 20 hours for one room, so only 1/20th of the hour is complete, of the room is complete in 1 hour. The reason that we do this is so that we have a common ground as to how much each person works in 1 hour, so we can add those two. Otherwise, we couldn't. We add those two to get 8/60. If both of them do 8/60th of the room in 1 hour, then how long till we try to find out how long till 60 over 60 or one whole room is done. Well, how many times does 8 go into 60? 7.5 times. So it must take 7.5 hours to do the painting job, which is option B. All right, next question. Now, this question requires a little bit of more thinking. So switch your smart head hats on. Well, you want to switch hats on, but put your smart hats on because this requires some thinking. Now, let me read. Alan, Betty, and Kathy each have the same amounts of money. How much money should Betty give to Alan and Kathy? So Alan has 5 more than Betty, and Kathy has 1 less than Alan. Okay. So, let's have a look. Let's set this out in this way. Hopefully this makes sense. I have to first understand, well, you guys, when you're solving the question, you have to understand what it means by giving money. Okay? So, let's say Betty gives $2. Actually, not $2. Let's say $5. Actually, maybe that's a bit too much. $1 to Alan. Okay? Then, Alan, who had, let's say Alan had $2, Betty also had $2 before. If Betty gives $1 to Alan, how much does Betty have? If Betty gives $1, he has 2 minus 1, which is $1. To Alan, who had 2 before, he just got $1 extra. How much is that? 3. Okay. So after Betty gives Alan $1, suddenly the difference between Alan and Betty, who used to have the same amount, is suddenly $2. Can you guys see this relationship between how much money is given and the difference that ends up between them? It's actually 2 times bigger. Okay? Okay? So if, let's say, if you guys were to give $2 to your best friend, then actually the difference between your money and his money is now $4 because you lost $2 in giving $2 to your friend who now has $2 more than you. Okay? Your friend has $2 more than you. You have $2 less because you gave that $2. Does that make sense? And the difference between you two would be $4. And this is the concept that I want you to be able to grab in this question. Now, hopefully, once you get that understanding, let's come back to the question. We need to find one of these options which allows us to indicate that Alan and Betty have a difference of $5. Okay, $5. If we know that it's twice, it's always going to be twice. However much we give is going to be twice. Oh, no. However much the difference is between two people is going to be twice the amount of money one person gives to another. Okay. Let me write this down in summary then, since it's confusing. The amount of money given. Let's not write it this way. Not the amount of money given. The difference. The difference in the amount each have is twice the amount Betty gives to her friends. Okay? So if Betty gives $1, suddenly the difference between the two people is $2. Okay. So, what option would allow us to give us this sort of difference? Well, let's have a look. If we have a look at the common theme, which is $5 to Alan, okay, let's try that out. If Betty gives $5 to Alan, Alan suddenly has now what? If Betty suddenly gives $5, Alan has now A plus 5. Betty has now B minus 5. And C, or Kathy, stays the same. What's the difference between these two guys? It's 10. Can you guys see that Alan's money now, he has $10 more? So already, this can't be true. Okay? This can't be true straight away. So anything that says $5 to Alan, straight away, not true. All right. Now, let's go to option A then. Let's go to option A, and I'll explain why this is the answer. Now, option A, it says $2 to Alan. So imagine Alan receives $2 from Betty, and Betty now has -2. Okay? So far, okay, interesting. Then that means Alan and Betty have a difference of 4. Then you might ask, well, it's not 5, so that can't be the answer. So why are you saying A is the answer? Well, guys, because the question says I have to give to Kathy as well. Okay? Meaning that, since so far I didn't give anything to Kathy, let's actually give, following the option, $1 to Kathy. If I give $1 to Kathy, to me, who, let's say I'm Betty, if I'm already $2 down, if I give one more dollar to someone, I'd be B -3, meaning that I'm down 3 of what I used to be. Then now, let's not write it here, so it's because it's confusing. Then now, to Alan, who has 2 more, right? Who used to have 2 more than the usual before, and Kathy, who has 1 more than me now. Can you guys see? Because I gave $1 to Kathy, I'm B -3 now, not B -2, and that means that the difference between Alan and me now is suddenly the correct $5. And what's the difference between me and Kathy? It's $4. And let me explain why this is 4 as well, in case you missed out. In this first step, I'm going to label this first and this as second. In the first step, I gave Alan $2. Okay? That means I'm $2 down, right? I don't have that $2 anymore. If I'm $2 down, then the difference between me and Kathy is already 2. Okay? On top of that, if I give Kathy $1, right? If I give Kathy $1, then how much do I lose? 1 more. I lose 1 whilst Kathy gains 1. So remember how what I said here? The difference in the amounts each has is twice the amount Betty gives to her friends. So if Betty gives $1 to Kathy, in fact, the difference then would be twice of that, which is $2. Can you guys see? And so since at this first stage, the difference was 2, and Betty gave 1 to Kathy, now the difference would then be 2 more to give us 4. Okay? This is an extremely hard concept to get, but if you get this, it's kudos to you, because this is very hard to get. But anyways, yeah guys, so we realize that A is the only option in this case. Okay? Let's move on to this question. Final question. Finding area, find the shaded area to the correct 2 decimal places. Okay, so as you can see, we have the white spaces consisting of 4 hemispheres. And so we need to find the area of the shaded area. So we're going to do area of square minus the area of the semispheres. It's not a D, that's a semisphere. Okay? Okay, how do we do that? Let's find the area of a square. What's the area of a square? The sides are 5, so 5 squared minus, what's the area of the hemispheres? How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have 4 hemispheres. If we have 4 hemispheres, how many spheres, not spheres, circles, sorry guys, I mean circles this whole time. 4 circles, 4 semicircles are going to be 2 circles in total. Okay, because obviously it takes 2 semicircles to make 1 whole circle. All right, if that's the case, how much is the area of the semicircles? Let's see. What's the formula for the circle, area of a circle? It's pi r squared. And how much do we know radius to be? Well, it's 3 in diameter, so obviously half of that, 1.5, okay? And since this calculates the area of 1 circle, how many circles do we have? We have 2 circles. Okay, so it's going to be 2 times pi times 1.5 squared. And this is all we really need to know. So 25 minus, and actually this is equal to 14.137 if you work it out. A bit more than that, but we rounded it off to the nearest third decimal. So we subtract this. What do we get? We actually get 10.863. Okay? And we round this down to 10.86. All right. That meters square or square meters. This is option C. Okay, guys, let's move on to the key points. Number one, more workers equals to less time taken. Okay, I have seen many times where students think just because more workers work, it must take more time. This is not the case, guys. It's the opposite. More workers means more hands. More hands means more work gets done in a shorter time. Okay. Point number two, go off with what you know are given. I'm talking obviously about Alan and Betty and Kathy. Okay. By what you know, I'm talking about this concept where if you give someone a certain amount of money, and you guys had the same amount of money to begin with, then the difference between the amount of money you two have is going to be twice the amount of money you gave to them. Okay? So again, if you gave $2 to your friend, then you lost $2, but they gained $2. So the difference between you two is going to be $4. Make sense? All right. Point number three, area of a circle is pi r squared. Obviously, you guys can see in this instance, don't calculate half of a hemisphere. Don't calculate the area of half of a semicircle, guys, and then times it by 4. That's just a waste of time. If you guys can see that there's 4 semicircles, then instantly you should go, oh, that's 2 circles, and just do times 2 instead, rather than finding the area of a semicircle and timesing that by 4 in this instance. And yeah, guys, that was it. Hopefully you guys understood, and